بينما تعطلت الحياة بسبب كورونا، تتواجد الإغاثة الإسلامية دائما في قلب الحدث لتغيث المحتاج كي لا يتألم، لنحميه من المرض، لنكف عنه الأذى. بتبرعك للإغاثة الإسلامية عبر العالم نصل إلى الأشد ضعفا وحاجة مثل مريم. معا نرسم البسمة على وجهها. تبرعي الآن للإغاثة الإسلامية عبر العالم. تبرعاتكم في أيد أمينة.
روحك أمانة، البس الكمامة عشان ولادك الصغار، الزم نفسك بالدار عشان رضا الوالدين
جمان صوتك مش مبين.
سوري. مساء الخير ومرحبا مع الجميع. اليوم لنا حلقة خاصة مع ويلس كوليج، جايين يحكوا لنا عن سكولرشيب خاصة للإيميغرانتس اللي موجودين جوا كندا، وحنكون عم نحكي بالإنجلش، فإذا في عندكم سؤال عن أي شيء خاص ممكن تكتبوا بالكومنت، وأنا وبهاء ممكن نحاول نترجم لكم إياها. فهلا I'm honored to introduce Rima Aristocrat, who is the chair of the college, and Henry Devlin, who is the president and CEO of Willis. So can you guys introduce us yourself a bit?
With pleasure, Jaman. Thank you so much. And thank you, Canadian Arab TV station, for inviting us. In fact, I was sharing that little story with Dr. Al-Sharif that it was not long ago when we were both on a panel speaking about the multiculturalism and importance of the working with our communities and the importance of the sharing some important information with our immigrant populations. Myself, being an immigrant myself, I am thrilled to be here tonight with my business partner, Henry Devlin, President and CEO, who has an incredible program to share with you. And I must also say hello to some of my Arab-speaking graduates 25 years ago. 25% of Willis College was Arab-speaking students, and I'm sure tonight somebody will be watching, so I wanted to say hello, everybody, and I'm thrilled tonight to be with you and sharing with you this important announcement. So, Henry, it's all yours.
Sure. Well, thank you, Rima, and others. My name is Henry Devlin. I'm the president and CEO of Willis College. Rima and I are business partners in the growth of Willis right across Canada. Willis has been a private training college for over 150 years. We're very proud to say it's the oldest private training college in Canada. Now with locations in Ontario, specifically the Ottawa area, where it's been for a large number of years. But now we're also in Manitoba, and we're in Alberta, and we're going to be launching some programs in Nova Scotia. So it's a very exciting time for Willis, as it has been for 150 plus years. But I'm excited to be on this evening talking specifically about the PSW opportunity. And then I'm sure that we'll get an opportunity throughout the evening to talk a little bit more about all of the programs that are available at Willis.
Okay, thank you both for that introduction. You're still, Joanne, you're still muted. We still can't hear you.
Sorry about that. So do you guys want to start with the programs that you have, or do you want to start with the scholarship?
Well, I think the audience, and want to be sensitive to time, I can give sort of a high-level overview of Willis College programs. They're primarily divided into 3 different disciplines. So we have business-related courses like human resources and accounting. We have technology-related programs along the lines of our cyber program, which is probably the top program that we have in the college right now. It's certainly our largest. And then we also have health programs. So programs like our PSW, and recently launched our dental assisting program. So those 3 faculties comprise the entire college: business, health, and technology. But the program here that we're speaking about this evening is around PSW. And Willis has delivered a PSW program for many, many years. And typically we'll train between about 30 and 60 students a year. This particular scholarship opportunity is very unique for Willis and for most colleges. To be able to offer to 300 individuals the opportunity to go to school without there being a tuition, it is, again, a very, very unique gift or bonus. It depends on how you're viewing it, but certainly a very unique opportunity for individuals. And this really started back in March. As the pandemic started to grow in intensity and businesses started to shut down, we were looking at, well, what areas of our economy are continuing to stay strong, and do we see that there's going to be growth for years to come? And of course, everything switched to the frontline workers, the healthcare workers, and that's really where PSWs come into play. So we worked very hard since March of this year to set up Willis and its program in a way that we could offer this 300 scholarship opportunities. And as of Monday, so just a few days ago, we launched a pretty aggressive marketing campaign within the college. So we're on several buses, we're on billboards, we're on radio, and that traditionally is how you'll generate student interest. But one thing we realized in our research of looking at this PSW and looking at the growth is the demographics of residents in care homes has been changing for many, many years now. If you take a look at a resident from the 1950s or 60s or 70s, very different than a resident you're going to see today. And if we're ever going to attract enough people that sort of fit that demographic, look like that demographic, and sound like that demographic, then Rima and myself need to get out to the communities and not just run our ads on the TV or the internet or buses. So in the last 3 or 4 days, we've been busy. Yes, we took a little bit of time off there for a day or so, but other than that, we've been fairly busy talking to communities about this opportunity. And again, it's a unique opportunity. Normally, as I said, we're not training anywhere near 100 students a year, but the work that we've been able to do since March and the partnerships that we've been able to form with care homes is pretty significant. Every care home that is sort of entering into this with us wants as many graduates as they can get. So that kind of gives you a sense of the demand, sort of the downturn in the economy since March. It really hasn't affected PSWs. In fact, care homes now are reevaluating the level of care that residents are getting, and this is driving demand for PSWs even higher. So again, the 300 that we've allotted for with this particular scholarship opportunity, we think will certainly help, but it won't reach the demand that I think is going to be throughout Ontario in the next 12 to 18 months. So hopefully that tells you a little bit about Willis and the program.
So
You mentioned that
PSW stands for Personal Service Worker, right? What exactly
Sorry?
does a PSW stands for Personal Service Worker?
Personal support worker.
Support.
And
Okay.
just,
yeah. What exactly do they do?
So just as the title would indicate, they are a personal support individual in a long-term care facility or hospital setting, anywhere where a resident or a patient or a client is going to need support and care. And that might be feeding the individual, getting them up, getting them dressed, helping them with general hygiene. It could be a variety of things that they're involved in. So, the need for personal support workers, as our hospitals continue to certainly have patients that move into it, and our residencies that are moving into personal care homes, long-term care facilities continues to grow. So personal support worker does all of those things that I just mentioned.
Okay.
So,
do you want to?
Yes. Well, first of all, I'd like to start with addressing the elephant in the room here. There's a big attitude between the Arab community, I can speak for my own community, about colleges versus university. Can you tell us what's special about college? Why would someone pick college over university when university is traditionally seen as the career choice, something that takes you somewhere? Why would someone pick a college?
Sure, it's a great question, and I've been in private training colleges in the career for 35 years. So let's just say that question comes up an awful lot, and I've certainly dealt with it many times. It's worth noting that every level of education is important, be it public colleges, private colleges, universities. I think they all have their place. So rather than say, is one better than another, I don't really think that that's a fair way to look at it. I think each of them address a different way of approaching skill development and hopefully achieving student outcomes. So if somebody's trying to be, let's say, an engineer or a doctor, they're never going to find the opportunity to attend a college and help them with that career path. If someone is looking to be a personal support worker, there's really no need to have a university degree to be a personal support worker. So I think that the choice of education is really an area that you decide upon once you have a sense of where you want to go. Now, the experience someone gets from a college versus a university is also very different. Universities will take you many years to go through. And there will be not just an academic development, but a social development. This is typically why you see a lot of individuals coming straight out of high school going to university, because they want to experience everything that a university can give to them. In our college setting right now, I would say over half of the students in our college are former university students, some with degrees, and some that have embarked on that career and realized 1 or 2 or 3 years into it that it's really not for them. So they sort of reposition and focus their direction on education towards what I would call skill development. And that's usually where the college system comes into play. This is about developing skills that align with a particular job or function in a career. So programs like within Willis, dental assistant, cyber operator, personal support worker, human resource administrator. These are all sort of jobs that you would typically see out in the employment market. That's how we build our programs. What are the skills that employers are looking for? And that's what we deliver to our student base. If somebody is looking for the entire social experience, I wouldn't say come to Willis, because it's probably not what you're going to get as much as you can with the university. Certainly the year that you spend with us, from the feedback I've received from students, will be a very enjoyable one. You will learn an awful lot. There's not a lot of foundational skills. Our students have to qualify when they first come in, with basic skills to get into the programs. And the admissions requirements do vary from one program to the next. But once it's been established that students have those fundamentals, those foundational skills, then they move into the skills development portion of their course. And then they've got typically about 8 months to a year to go through a program. And then once they have finished, and I think this also may be a bit of a different element. Our college, along with other private colleges throughout the province, the outcomes that our students get are measured. So if a college is not seeing students transition from school to employment, then it hurts the opportunity for that college to stay open. Now, if you look at Willis, 150 years, and it's been open 150 years, we've evidently produced a number of student results through those years. And if we go back, we're talking tens of thousands of students. But I think sometimes people really do look at universities and colleges as competition. And in my 35 years, I really don't see them as competition. I see them as different academic options for individuals. And knowing that well over half of our students have some type of university education, I know that many of them will maybe complete a university and either find it difficult to transition into a job, or they'll get partway in and realize this just wasn't what they want to be doing the rest of their life. So again, I think that's where the college and the skill development is a better route for some of those individuals.
Henry, if I may actually add something. I am also a founder of Canadian Association of Immigrant Professionals. In my 30-some years in Willis, I've advised a lot of our immigrants who we all came here with some degrees and education, but it was a difficult time transitioning to employment. We needed the shortest period of time, the skills upgrade, that bridges us to the employment. So the private career colleges like Willis is suitable for somebody who wants to enter the job market, change the career, upgrade the career, shortest period at a time. So I know that your community members are, most of them actually, a lot of them already have a degree. So if they are planning to change the career, get a better job, that's the route to go.
Well, speaking of skills, you mentioned the skills that Willis can provide you. What about the skills that you need to enter Willis? What sort of skills do you need to be accepted into the program? What sort of accreditation tests? What sort of prerequisites?
So there is, it's a great question, and it really depends on what area of study that you're going into. But I would say at a basic foundation, you want to ensure that someone has completed their high school, that someone is qualified to be in Canada and studying in Canada. So if they require a student visa to attend, they have to have all of their paperwork in place. Literacy is a very important foundational skill. If someone struggles with the language, be it written or their ability to read it, then they will find it challenging. So we assess those foundational skills prior to coming in. And with certain programs like the PSW, there's 2 or 3 other areas like criminal record check that we look at. There's a couple of other elements that we need to secure from the students before they can get into the course.
Are these tests that you perform independently performed, or do you require IELTS or TOEFL tests, or are they directly from Willis?
They're from Willis. Certainly, if someone has a TOEFL test completed, we can take, depending upon the timeline as to which it was done, we can take those exams and apply them towards our evaluation. So again, if someone has that completed and they're looking to inquire about one of our programs, they could certainly bring that along and we could assess it for the course that they're looking to get into.
Also, just to be clear about something here, the PSW scholarship that we're talking about here is for Canadian residents who are already in Canada. So is there something special about that is separate from other Willis requirements?
No, the only thing that we are asking with this particular group, because for Willis to be able to offer that amount of scholarships is certainly a very unique thing for us. So the work that we've been doing with the care home partners that we have, and what we've heard from them, is they really want to ensure the people that are going into this have the right mindset for what they think it is and why do they want to be a PSW. What is it about that career? Because we want to make sure the right people get into that program. So we are asking with this particular course that every student who is looking to get in will be completing a 300 to 500 word essay as to why they should be selected into the program. So that would be unique for this. It's not something we normally do in our other programs.
Are you planning to continue this scholarship offer beyond 2020, or is it for just this acceptance cycle?
Again, very good question. And certainly some of the community groups that we've already spoken to have asked similar questions, because I think everyone's a little bit nervous. Henry, what happens when the 300 scholarships expire? I would say right now we need to stay focused on qualifying and connecting with 300 individuals. If the demand in the marketplace continues to grow, which I think it will, Willis is a very creative college, has been for many, many years. We will continue to look at ways of helping people pursue their education in a field like PSW, where the demand certainly exceeds the supply of people right now. So without committing too much, Baha, I want to be careful, but I would say that Willis is going to continue to try to be creative and ensure that if that barrier for people to pursue education is tuition, this scholarship opportunity takes that barrier away and allows people to sort of pursue a new career, a different career. It is definitely for individuals, and I wouldn't just say Canadian citizens, I would say individuals that are on a student visa, permitted to be here, because we as Willis College, we also have a designated learner institution number, which qualifies Willis to accept international students. But I would say the opportunity to get into this group of 300, you would need to be in Canada right now with a student visa. If you're overseas and you're listening to this, there will not be any seats left by the time you get your paperwork together. So in that sense, yeah, it's really designed for someone who is in Canada right now. And the communities that we've already spoken to, I won't mention them, that wouldn't be fair to you, but the first community we chatted with said, Henry, can we have all 300? And I said, well, I don't play favorites. To me, what I'm really trying to achieve is what we mentioned earlier, is the demographics of care homes are changing. So we need to ensure that the workforce changes along with the changing demographic. That's really important.
That brings me to a really good question, actually. Are you going to try to separate these 300 scholarships on people from different demographics? Because I'm pretty sure you're not just going to give it to people that are bilingual with the same language. That kind of defeats the purpose of the scholarship.
Yeah, I think to be fair to everyone, the way that we have communicated this out is, and we really just kicked this off a few days ago. Like it took us an awful long time to get all of the paperwork together for this. So it's only been live for a few days now. I'm a big fan of, if someone is motivated and they want to pursue this, then they should contact the college, and they should do it in a timely fashion. I'm not going to hold on to 10 or 20 or 50 seats for a specific group, not knowing if that group is ever going to come and take advantage of those seats. So
No,
we have
but once you get in the applications, will you try to be splitting them up between the different demographics?
No, again, the focus right now is really, first come, first serve that qualifies to get in. If we are seeing large numbers of different demographic groups looking to get in, and it's going to exceed the 300, then as I said to Baha, I have to go back and start looking at, is there another creative way to launch more scholarships? To give you a sense, I looked at the numbers just before this interview this evening, and since about Tuesday, we've had about 50 students, 50, that have inquired about the program. That doesn't mean all 50 are getting in. They still have to go through the entrance requirements, but we are starting to see some interest in the program. And I think that will continue, certainly for the next few weeks. The kickoff to this program is going to be January 5th. Students will be participating in the course 4 days a week with Willis Collage, and 1 day a week they will be in a care home. So we're calling that our 4+1 model. Now, some individuals might say, Henry, I can't go into a care home for whatever reason. I can do the academic side, but I can't go out into the care home. Then this program wouldn't be for them. There's other programs. We are running our 5-day-a-week PSW course that Willis has had for many years. So if somebody doesn't fit into the 300, they could certainly look at what I would call our regular PSW program. The only challenge would be the scholarship is not available for that course. So I would really encourage people to make whatever accommodations they need to make to be able to go out to that care home 1 day a week.
How was the city transitioned this year during the whole COVID pandemic and switching to online?
Yeah, Juman, it's a great question, and I think for every school, as much as schools may have been, I'll use the word dabbling in online or hybrid education, the odd course, the odd introduction module, nobody could have envisioned in March of 2020 that we would have been thrust into this on a full-time basis. I am very fortunate. The team that we have assembled within our organization is very technically savvy. We have our own proprietary software that helps manage our student systems. So within a very short period of time, we transitioned from the face-to-face delivery to our full online delivery. Now, what we have been doing over the last several months is opening up certain lab components of our course at the college. We have proper protocol and PPE in place to keep our staff and students safe, but we have been utilizing the college for specific skills development. The announcement that just came out, I think it was as of 12:01 this morning, for the next month, there will be nobody in the college. And that's to comply with the provincial guidelines that have been laid out. So we'll just carry on with our online studies. That's not going to change at all. And I would say, even if we return to some level of normalcy, I believe this 300 scholarship group will be nearing the end, if not have already completed their course. So I think it's fair to tell your audience that this program will be delivered in an online fashion.
Well, you talked about the difference between this scholarship course, the 4+1 method, and your regular course. What other differences are there? Mainly speaking about tuition. what are the extra costs outside of this scholarship?
And really, that I think is the great news for individuals that are trying to get in and qualify to get into the group of 300. And I will note that we have a couple of our what I would call our regular classes starting in early 2021, and every one of those students have been offered the opportunity to apply for the 300. So it wasn't as though I was saying no to one and yes to another. We're a very, very fair college, and we communicate well with our student base. So, but the tuition specifically, if someone is attending our PSW program, let's say prior to this scholarship announcement, their books and materials that required to participate in the course would be $8,295. That entire amount is covered off by the scholarship. So aside from pen and paper that maybe a student wants to use, but if they're using their own computer, then I would encourage them not to kill trees. So let's use our technology wherever possible. But there's really no hidden costs for a student. They're not going to show up and realize, oh goodness, I've got to pay a few $1,000s. That's not the case. They're not going to have a requirement that you have to work at a particular care home for the next 3 years in order for the scholarship to work. There is truly none of that that's going on. Now, I would say though, if I were maybe picking it apart a little bit, really trying to help your audience understand, when a student comes into this program, although the tuition and the books they require to go to school will be covered, their living allowance will not. So their families themselves, part-time work that they have, they need to be able to support themselves while they go through this. Sometimes when our students are attending the regular program, they can look into funding options that help them with living allowance. But that's not going to be the case for the PS 300.
Well, can you tell us more about the job itself from a job aspect? What kind of pay would a service worker have? What kind of longevity does this career get? Where is it a dead-end career, or is there a career ladder?
Yeah, it's again, great questions. A dead-end career. I think if you're looking at an individual who's 20 years of age and wants to experience many different career positions throughout their life, the PSW is a defined career that you could be doing, and many do, for 30-40 years. But a PSW is not typically going to become, let's say, a doctor in medicine. That's not usually the case. Although many PSWs pursue nursing, I would say the majority, they get into it, and the fulfillment they get from their job as a PSW is what keeps them in their job. As if you take a look at what's happened since March with the pandemic, and the amount of layoffs and the economy and how it's been affected, PSWs were working consistently through all of that. In fact, the government right now is looking at ways to maybe lift their earning potential. And it really does, and it's a hard one to answer, what's the amount of money they make? It really depends on the care home they're in. Are they in a hospital or institutional setting? Because that could vary depending upon the compensation structure that's been built into that organization. So it would be unfair for me to state a number, because there might be some care homes that say, Henry, please don't say that. That's not what we pay. And there might be other care homes that say, oh, Henry, you got that wrong. We pay way more than that. So it's a good career. It's a decent compensation. And there are many students that the satisfaction when you get an opportunity to work with an individual, and sometimes people think, well, it's care homes and it's elderly care and that's all I'll be doing. That's one stream, absolutely. But several months ago, I went in for a medical procedure, and I had a PSW take care of me. So I know that they're everywhere in our medical facilities and our long-term care facilities. So the opportunity for someone to spend an entire career in an area, that's something that back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s we used to talk about. And today, there are very few careers that allow you to spend your entire career in that field. PSW is one of those unique careers that allows you to do that.
Would that affect the age range of the students?
No, it really, when I take a look at the age variance of our current students that are participating, now, in fairness, the PSW 300, we haven't started a class yet, so it's really hard for me to say exactly what that's going to look like. But we have students in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s in our PSW program. We have male, we have female, we have different cultural backgrounds, we have different languages spoken. So it really is a melting pot, really, of what Canada is. So I think that program attracts a wide audience into it.
How long is the program?
So the entire program will take a student 30 weeks to go through. So about half a year, which, again, for someone to transition into a new career seems like, well, for university students, it seems like, how can that happen? It's because we're developing skills to do a particular job. We're not, they're not going to be, in various sporting groups and social activities. They're here to develop a skill to get a job. And we know that that's our job, and we are very clear with the student that is their job, to show up and to develop those skills so they can be in demand. So 30 weeks in total. 22 of the weeks will be the academic portion, where the student will be in online plus the 1 day that they're in the care home. And then 8 weeks, they will be doing a practicum or a field portion of their course. So the care home that they've been working in for that 1 day a week while they go to school will be the host care home that they do their 8 weeks in to conclude their program.
Okay. I just have a question about applying for the scholarship. You said that you can call the college or contact the college, but then at the same time, there's no one on campus at the moment, so people are working from home?
Yeah, again, another good question. I have numerous team members that are either working from home or working in another area. Maybe it's not their home, but it's an isolated area. And they're right across Canada. So it's not just Ontario. So you could almost send in an email, maybe a phone call in the middle of the night may not get answered, but you could send in an email at any time and probably get a response from one of our admissions individuals. They've all been versed on this program. They all know the procedure we need to go through to engage with a person, interview the individual, lay out the admissions requirements, talk to them about their background, ensure that they can meet sort of the timelines that we're talking about. And again, if they're fairly quick on contacting the college, it's a very good likelihood that they will have one of the PSW 300 seats.
Okay, there is a question in the comments asking why a person would choose the PSW and not another program, and if there's like a specific need in the market, and if there is a need, if this occurred because of COVID or was this before COVID?
Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, I've been involved in private college education for close to 35 years now. 35 years ago, we had care workers that were going to school. So is there a need? Is there a demand? There has always been a demand. Now, sometimes that title has gone from PSW to continuing care attendant to healthcare aide. The names may change a little bit, the titles may change a little bit, but the need for care assistance, be it in a long-term care facility or hospital setting, has been there for many, many years. So it's not just that COVID hit and there needed to be PSWs. There was a need for PSWs prior to COVID. I think what you are seeing, though, is the way that care homes are looking to operate moving forward. The amount of engagement.
Wasn't the need emphasized during COVID because they were highly understaffed and specific individuals needed more care, therefore they needed more workers which weren't available?
Yeah, well, as I was saying, the demand has grown and will continue to grow. And I think it's a combination of, the amount of hours that a resident can have or an individual in a hospital can have, and how that particular care home is staffed or set up. I feel very comfortable. Like I said earlier, we train less than 100 students a year normally in our PSW program. The 300 that we're going to take through, I believe, based on the engagement that we've had with our care homes, all 3 of those 100 individuals will be finding work as a PSW upon completion of the program.
Is there a specific reason you chose to invest into this program specifically instead of your other more famous programs?
Well, I'm glad my programs are famous. That's great. There's every program sort of gets attention from the college. So last year, for example, we built out a new dental assisting lab, invested considerable money in it, and we started ramping up admissions in our dental assisting area. Over the last several years, we've invested considerable resources into our cyber program. We were very, very fortunate in 2020 to be selected by the Canadian military. So now Willis Collage is the exclusive, and I can say these words now, the exclusive trainer for cyber operators in active Canadian military personnel. So if somebody is in the military and they want to be a cyber operator, they've got to go through Willis Collage. So again, that has been years in the making, considerable investment. So when I look at PSW, it's not like that's the child I love and I don't love my other children. Every program gets attention in the college. It's just one might be this year, next year it might be something else. But certainly, as Jaman said, the growth for PSWs is going to continue to elevate. So that's why this type of initiative was very important. And I've been working on it for many, many months to bring it to light. But it's not to say that next year it'll still be PSW. It could be something entirely different. With the college, and it's the only way that Willis has been around for 150 years, consistently reinvents itself. We're looking, what is the next opportunity that we need to be training in? So when you look at things like Rima and I, several months back now, before COVID, last summer, or I guess the summer before it would have been, Rima and I were driving around the golf course on an autonomous vehicle. We're constantly exploring unique programs. And it all comes down to, are there jobs for students? So I'm not going to fall in love with a course unless there is employment opportunities for students in it. And throughout Canada, the schools that I sort of control, we have programs like in Ontario, like dental and cyber, but we also have hairstyling and aesthetics and photography out west and design out west. So again, every market can be a little different. This opportunity right now is for the PSW group, and we're excited for them. But I'm sure that the PSW group last year was saying, why are the dental students getting all the attention? That was their time. PSW's time is now.
Well, I'm sure you'd be glad to hear this. Your cybersecurity course is the third search result when anyone looks for Willis Collage. So that's interesting.
Yeah. Again, we have invested. It's not like we just started running the program last year. We have delivered thousands of cyber operators to the marketplace. And the work that we started doing last year to bid on and win the Canadian military contract, we're working very hard to ensure that the schools or the programs that those military individuals go through will prepare them well for a career in cyber operations within the Canadian military. So it is a program within the college that gets incredible press. Lots of people talk about it, and it's difficult to get into the seats that are available for that program. That's for sure. Every time we run it, the program is pretty much full. We still encourage people to look into it because they're depending upon what happens with online studies. We have a physical campus in Ottawa at the Saint Laurent Mall. If we are delivering face-to-face studies, we only have the opportunity to deliver about 6 cyber programs a year. If it's online, and again, we're going through a process right now with that, if it does get approved for online studies, then more individuals that couldn't get into a class will now find the opportunity to join one of their online classes. So cyber is exciting, but it requires constant investment because everything that we know about cyber today, 3 years from now, will be different. So that's a program that schools might get excited saying, oh, this is great, we should launch a cyber program. You better be ready to invest some serious dollars in not just equipment and curricula, but also the staffing, because to acquire the staff to deliver that content, these are very skilled individuals with lengthy backgrounds. So they're a considerable investment on the part of the college.
Okay, so there's a few questions in the comments. So there's a person asking how long the program is. So it's 30 weeks, which is a bit more than half a year. And then there's another question about the obstacles that face graduates from the PSW program.
Well, I guess it depends on what a person sees as an obstacle. If employment is the main obstacle, will I get a job? You don't even need to take my word for it. You could call as an individual interested, you could call 10 care homes tomorrow and ask them, do they think they'll be hiring in the next 6 months? And I'm pretty sure you will get 10 care homes saying yes. So if the obstacle is employment, I really don't see that as a barrier. If somebody is going to work at a care home and let's say they have an inability to work shifts, so they can only go 9 to 5, they can't work nights, they can't work weekends, then certain care homes will be out of the option for them. So again, if a shift is one of the obstacles, they need to be careful about that. And then also transportation. If someone says, Henry, I can't get from A to B unless I can walk there. And here's my house, and this is where I can go to. Well, do a little circle around your house, and if 2 or 3 care homes fall in there, then I'd say the PSW is a great program. But if the care homes don't fall in that circle, this is probably not the career for you.
Okay, so those 2 would be cons. Are there any more cons that might be associated with the program?
For example, there's an old saying between nurses that nurses eat their young, in reference to the senior nurses usually bullying the younger nurses. Do you find some sort of similar attitude between PSW workers or, for example, between senior staff and PSWs?
Yeah, I've certainly heard that comment. I've never heard it related to nurses. My wife was a nurse for many, many years, and I'm pretty sure she didn't get eaten by anyone.
Well, that's good.
But I would say that if you go back in time, and I won't go as far as the 50s, but the 70s, 80s, and 90s, there might have been more pressure put upon younger health professionals coming into whatever field, be it doctors, be it nurses. But certainly over the last 20 years, organizations have worked very, very hard to ensure that the work environment for all of its staff is fair, is supportive. Otherwise, you're not going to keep staff members. So I really don't think, and again, I'm kind of partial because my wife's a nurse, but I really don't think nurses make it uncomfortable. The career of a nurse is very challenging, and there's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of pressure put upon our nurses. So I would say that's probably a bigger challenge than dealing with, let's say, a senior nurse not making it comfortable for you. And the same thing within PSW. Everybody has their residents to look after, their individuals they need to take care of and get set up for the day. So there's really not a lot of what I would call water cooler time to talk about the new people coming in. In fact, care homes, and if you think about this, if I'm a PSW in a care home, and I'm going to go back to something Jaman said, and I'm finding my workload really, really heavy. And oh my goodness, I got to take care of so many residents here. And a new PSW comes in, I'm actually pretty happy because then I know that somebody else is helping me with the load. So I really see that care homes and hospital settings are being very receptive to new individuals, be they healthcare aides, PSWs, nurses, all of those are now received very well.
Okay, there's just a few more quick questions. Do PSWs have a union?
Very good question. There is no national union for PSWs because the care title is different in different provinces. What I would say is, depending upon the facility they go into, it may or may not have a union setting. So again, they really have to search out, where are they going to work, and within that organization, how they set that up. Because certainly some care homes do have unions, and some do not.
Okay, are there specific soft skills required to be a PSW student?
Certainly, the number one is communication. People need to be comfortable with English. I'm not saying you need to be the English teacher, but you certainly need to be able to communicate, because that's going to be a real barrier. And so that's probably number one. And then you need to be the type of individual that really does care about people and wants to work in a field where you're making a difference for someone in their life. You're helping people at a very vulnerable stage of their life, be it in a long-term care facility or, like me many months ago, in a hospital bed. If I didn't have that PSW, I wouldn't have been able to function because I needed their help on numerous things. So the type of individual that's going to get the fulfillment out of this job is someone that says, that's important to me. Now, it's probably the person that says, I know this cyber thing is really interesting, but I don't want to be on a computer 7 hours a day. That's me. Right. So the heart has to be there, I think, to be a very good PSW.
Well,
I have a few. How is the Arab and immigrant presence at Willis in general?
Well, I think Rima mentioned it earlier. We've had, because of our longevity as a college in the National Capital Region, we've had a strong Arab presence within the school. Now, it does fluctuate. Some months are higher, some years are higher, some years are less, depending upon what programs are working. I think reaching out to the community, like what we're doing right now, will help tell that community more about Willis. Typically what we get is someone is referred to another person and another person. That happens quite regularly at Willis, where my brother went there, or my sister, or my neighbor, and they've come from the same community. So I would say that it's strong, but I would say that the entire population of Willis is very diverse. Probably the most exciting time at Willis is when we get to do our potluck lunches, because now we're not doing them during COVID, but the diversity of food that comes in is incredible.
Okay,
Well,
so I think we should just have a very quick summary on the program and the scholarship. So the scholarship is for 300 students, specifically for the PSW program, which is a personal support worker. The program is 30 weeks long, which is a bit more than a year and a half. It's about 7 and a bit months. And the scholarship is fully covered tuition, tuition and books, and then what else do we need to summarize for the program? Oh, for the entrance, you guys can just email or try to call Willis College, and they can give you all the details. It's first come, first serve. You might have to write an essay for entrance, and you do have to be fluent in English. I have a question. If someone doesn't have a degree, so IELTS or TOEFL, or if they didn't graduate from a Canadian high school, do you guys have some sort of quiz, English testing that someone can take?
Yeah, there's an English equivalency evaluation that we do when students come in. Some of them can't find their high school papers, but so we take them through that. That's a requirement of our regulatory body. We have to ensure that students have met that basic standard before they come in. And Jaman, I think you mentioned everything. The only other items that I think are important is this program is online. So students are going to need to be able to function, let's say, from home. So internet needs to be good. Access to a computer needs to be there. Those are the important elements. 4 days a week, they'll be participating in the program. 1 day a week, they will be in a care home.
Yep. And they do not have to be Canadian, but they should be in Canada in order for the scholarship to work. So
Yeah, I
permanent
think for someone,
resident or even on a visa, as long as the visa allows them to study.
yeah, and I think that's the important thing. You know, if somebody has some documentation that they're wondering, does this qualify me? They could simply call the school. The admissions teams that we have are well versed in what to look for. So they could go through that and say, yes, indeed, you have qualified, or no, because of this documentation, you do not qualify. We'll be very upfront with those students.
Okay. And if anyone has any other questions not related to the scholarship, you guys can go ahead and contact the college. If you go on their website and look for their contact email or even phone number, you'll be able to ask them any other questions.
Yeah, happy to answer any questions about any of our programs. And once we all have the vaccine and COVID is behind us, love to see them come into Saint Laurent and walk through our college and get a sense of what Willis does each and every day with students.
right. Thank you very much. Is there a last thing either of you would like to say?
I would actually love to say thank you, Canadian Arab TV station, Dr. Al Sharif, Jannah, for this important opportunity. And I want to wish all of you very safe, very joyful, very healthy 2021. So, see you at the college next year.
See you then.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.